A person making a will may entrust it to the Registrar of Inheritance. This action gives peace of mind and confidence to the client that the will be kept safely, and after his death, it will be put into action and the estate will be passed on to the heirs he has chosen. The will is recommended to be made with the assistance of a lawyer who specializes in inheritances and wills, but depositing the will by a lawyer is not possible in all cases, only in certain circumstances, as it is a personal action that must be performed by the client personally. A will be executed by the testator who chooses where and with whom he is interested in trusting the will after he has finished drafting and editing it. There are places in which the will can be deposited. The lawyer who prepared the will for you, the administrator of the estate, a bank safe, and the most common body with which a will is made is the Registrar of Inheritance.
Making a will. Everyone is aware of the importance, sensitivity, and meaning of a will by which we determine how our property will be divided after we leave this world. The Inheritance Act provides a general arrangement that applies in cases of absence of a will, but there are many cases where this arrangement does not conform to our personal will as far as the inheritance of property is concerned. By making a will in which we actually condition the arrangement that exists in the law, and choose according to our personal preference, personally and ourselves our heirs, as well as their share in the estate. A will has an emotional, economic, and legal significance, and therefore, anyone seeking to make a will should contact an experienced and professional lawyer who specializes in wills and inheritance law. The legal support is intended to ensure that the wording of the will is accurate, clear, and free from any disputes, and that the will is drafted and prepared in accordance with the rules set forth in the law.
Writing a will. Why is it worth it? As part of drafting a will, the client has the option of depositing it with a Registrar of Inheritance matters. The benefits of depositing a will by a lawyer are numerous. First, the process gives the client confidence that it will be kept in one protected place, and that there is no danger that it will be lost. Second, if the client is interested in making a will and not sharing it with relatives or other people close to him, depositing the will with an expert lawyer will allow him to ensure complete confidentiality in the matter. Third, entities authorized to issue a will not grant the order without performing an examination of whether it is deposited, and only then will the order be issued. It is important to note that in the context of a will deposit procedure, the legal validity has not been examined, and therefore, in the event of any defect in the will, the act of deposit cannot qualify. This means that if an objection is filed to the will, it may be disqualified, even though it has been deposited with the Registrar of Inheritance. This state of affairs illustrates the importance of turning to a professional lawyer for the purpose of drafting a will.
How do you file a will? In order to deposit a will, the client must approach the Registrar of Inheritance Affairs in person, depending on his place of residence. If you are depositing the will in person and not by a lawyer, you must present the original will document, ID card, and confirmation of payment of the fee. After depositing the will, the client will receive a deposit confirmation stating the number of the file that will allow the client in the future to withdraw the will if he so desires. In the case of a mutual will made as a single document, both spouses are required to report to the registrar's offices. After the death of the client, the heirs will usually submit an application for a will. As part of this framework, the Registrar of Inheritance will check whether the will was indeed deposited by the deceased, and accordingly the order will be issued. From the date of death, the registrar will give the heirs listed in the will notice of its existence. The client can choose whether to deposit his will with an inheritance and wills lawyer or alternatively keep it at home. However, he also has the option of depositing it with the Registrar of Inheritance, should he choose to do so. The deposit of the will with the Registrar of Inheritance entails a number of significant advantages. It ensures that the will be kept in a safe place and will not be lost in the event of a dispute. As to the date of making the will, there will be evidence that the will was made at the latest on the day it was deposited with the registrar. At any time, the client may get back his will. The will be deposited solely by the client, who will present an identity card and submit the original will together with a receipt attesting to the payment of the fee. If you are interested in making a will, In order to ensure that you have a will that is legally valid but clearly reflects the will of the client, it is important to contact a lawyer who specializes in wills and inheritance, and who is proficient in drafting a will and depositing it with the appropriate authorities.
Filing a will in court. Under the dry law in Israel, it is not possible to make a will in court, and it cannot be deposited in an inheritance law firm. In general, the will must be deposited with a Registrar of Inheritance. However, it is important to note that while depositing the will in the office of the lawyer who made it is not considered a will made in full in accordance with the Inheritance Act, it will certainly help and contribute to keeping an original copy of the will not at the client's home. Locating a deposit of a will. After the client has passed, the Registrar of Inheritance issues and sends an orderly notice to all the heirs specified in the will regarding its existence, together with a copy of the will. Thereafter, each of the subscribed heirs has the right and possibility to apply for the existence of a will. At the end of the procedure for submitting the application for the execution of the will and the receipt of the will execution order, the heirs are given the opportunity to initiate a procedure for the execution of the will.
The importance of obtaining legal assistance from a professional and experienced lawyer. Depositing a will does not guarantee that the will is necessarily written in accordance with the law and regulations and that it is kosher. If you have legally deposited the will and are accompanied by an expert lawyer in the field, then the chances that its credibility can be challenged after your death are small. An attorney specializing in wills and inheritance law, who is particularly knowledgeable in the will deposit process, will help you make sure that after your death your property will be transferred to the heirs close to you, and this according to your will and according to the law. Accompaniment and legal advice from an expert and experienced inheritance and wills lawyer. Law firm and notary Shimonhan specializes in the field of civil commercial law, real estate law, wills and inheritances, and more, and provides its clients with a range of legal services in order to protect and safeguard the interests that are important to them and ensure full rights. The firm includes a team of experienced lawyers and jurists who will accompany you all the way in full cooperation and personal treatment, and will guide you on how to properly proceed with the process of drafting and depositing a will. Legal assistance is important and is intended to ensure that the will and its deposit procedure are carried out correctly and in accordance with the procedures and regulations set forth in the law. Legal assistance in such a sensitive and complex field of drafting and depositing a will is especially important and is intended to prevent disputes and to ensure that the will fully fulfilled according to the will of the deceased. With every question and request, we are at your service, and we will be happy to provide you with a complete answer to any need for personal attention, responsibility, and dedication.